Warning. The following scenes may contain references to power pages and portals which some listeners may find disturbing, especially if you've struggled with poor training in the past. Hey all, Franco Musso here. Yes, I've hacked your podcast feed. I've held John and Mike hostage, but don't worry, I got my wires crossed and I'm actually paying them a small ransom in the form of sponsorship. Go figure. So, by popular demand, I'm cooking up 2 brand new offerings to help you get your portal projects off the ground in 2024. The first is my group coaching program launching in March. Join me and a cohort of other budding portal makers for live coaching sessions, weekly live training, office hours, Q&A, and surgeries. I'll guide you through the process from zero to launch, all at a fraction of the cost of hiring a freelancer or a contractor. It's like having a trusted partner on hand, helping you avoid the pitfalls, saving you a ton of money, headache, and time. Plus, you're bound to learn lots from others in the group as we discuss their experiences, challenges, and solutions. To apply, head on over to francomusso.com/group-coaching. You can now take your fingers out of your ears and enjoy the awesome that is Sprint Zero.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 9 of the Sprint Zero podcast. My name is John Russell and I'm here with my co-partner crab in crime, Mike Gowland. Say hello, Mike.
Hello, Mike.
All right, how you doing? You okay?
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, I've done some beard.
You're a bit flustered, aren't you?
Yeah, I've done some beard trimming today, so I'm kind of happy about that.
Oh yeah.
This week we are joined by Damien Bird. Damien is an all-round Power Automate legend. He's regularly posting content on his YouTube channel, and he really thinks outside the box, thinking up all kinds of interesting ways to get the best out of the platform, notably Power Automate. Along with John Levesque, Damien was one of the first people that I started watching on my journey with Power Automate, and he's also got me out of a hole more times than I care to mention. Welcome to the podcast, Damien. How you doing?
Yeah, hi there, John. Hi there, Mike. Yeah, I'm very good, thanks. I'm glad to join you today. It's superb.
Nice.
So, Damien, first of all, we'd like to know a bit about your journey to where you are now. How did it all start?
Well, it's funny you should mention John Levesque, actually, because back in the day, it was to do with me helping out on the forum. And I'd answered maybe about 10 questions on the forum about 3 years ago. And then I thought I'd set myself a challenge of trying to get over 100 questions or answers on the forum. And about 10 days in, 50 answers down, I got locked out of my account because Microsoft made some changes. And I hounded John, I don't know if he remembers, but I hounded him on Twitter saying, please get me back into my account because I'm desperate to get over 100 solutions. And eventually I got back in and I got 153 in that month. And that's kind of what got me addicted to helping people out on the forum. I didn't do as many after that.
No.
So how did I get to where I am now? I guess it's just been by helping folk, really, doing a lot of stuff on forums, blogging, and obviously more recently the YouTubing. That's been going for 3 years, but I'm just about to hit 10,000 subscribers on my channel. So I'm quite excited about that.
So, call to action, everyone, subscribe to Damien Bird now.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. How far are you away? I think you must be really close, though.
Yeah, I think I'm about 150. So 150 subscribers to go. And I was running a little competition as well. A couple of books from PAC-T and also some licensing, etc. from myself. And also Keith Atherton had helped me out with some codes for LinkedIn as well. So some good little prizes there for hitting 10,000, hopefully.
Nice. So, you have a regular cadence of posting on your YouTube channel, much in the way some blog writers, me included, get writer's block. Do you get video content block, and how do you overcome it?
100%, yeah. I mean, every week you're trying to think of something new and just trolling forum posts and looking for ideas and thinking, oh, I've already done something similar to that. Sometimes I get inspiration from work, and there's been examples of me working on a hack, for instance, and someone having a problem with something and then looking online for that answer and then realizing, actually, it'd be really good if I covered this as a video because not only will it help someone else, it'll actually help me as well because I'll forget. And I do find myself going back to my own videos and my own content going, I know I sorted that before. How did I do it again? So it's a good reference tool, to be honest.
And it's so we do hear it time and time again that the power users forums are just a great place to get inspiration for blog posts, especially if you solve a problem and then actually you just immortalize it in a blog post. It then reaches more people as well.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. Again, I mean, there are examples of people on the forum that have either gone on to create YouTube channels or even write books. To be honest, I think you ultimately want a challenge when you're learning the Power Platform, and so the forum is just a free resource for challenges, and you don't necessarily need to solve it for that person. You can solve it for yourself and just understand how and why something comes together. And even come up with your own variation of that solution, but at least you've worked through it and having that hands-on experience rather than the theory, which the theory won't get anywhere until you've actually done it.
Mm. So you've mentioned a couple of times already about books, right? So your competition, you got some giveaways from Pact, and so how have you found the book writing experience? Have you got involved with that, or would you say you've been more reviewing the books?
I have been reviewing books. I have been asked to write a book. But like everything, with all these opportunities, you've got to weigh up what you've got time for. I do put a lot of time and effort into my YouTube and writing the odd blog post to sort of supplement that video. So to suddenly take on board writing a book is, I think at this point anyway, too much for me, because I've got family as well, so I need to balance these things, and I could easily just say yes to everything, but then I wouldn't have any other time in my life and no time for my family.
And I think we've covered it on this podcast so many times that you do need to have time for yourself, and you can't always give like 100% of your time to the community. You need to look after you first before.
Yeah, it's okay to say no, I think. And that's something that I've kind of sort of taken on board the last few years. Obviously, I had health problems as well, which I've spoken about before online and stuff with my heart. And that kind of was the wake-up call for me, as I work flat out in a council job. Ironically, you think a council job is a cushy number, but I work flat out in that role. And then after having my cardiac arrest, I realized that actually I was just another person, and there's no point in me saying yes to absolutely everything, because at the end of the day, once you're gone, that's it. So be selective about what you get involved in and do stuff that you enjoy.
I mean, I know you've talked about it a little bit before, and you talked about it with us before we jumped on the podcast. Is it something you feel kind of comfortable talking about, like what happened there?
Oh yeah, totally. I'm very open about my health. Yeah.
So what happened in your words, kind of thing?
So I mean, you could ultimately argue this is what led to me getting involved in the community and my contributions, because I was super sporty, big into my cycling and running, and thought of myself as being very, very fit. And it was just one day after work, after a busy day at work, I went out on my bike, said to the missus, look, I'm just going to go out for a quick 10-mile tootle on the road bike. And I never came home because I woke up on the road. I called her from the roadside, having crashed my bike, just flipped off the bike without realizing what was happening, because I'd had a cardiac arrest. That's what I eventually got confirmed to me. In theory, that's what happened, and I was fitted with a internal defibrillator, so that if I go into arrest again, I'll get a shock, and I've had that once since. But to make things even more interesting with my health, is that the device that I had fitted caused complications. It caused a blockage, or a partial blockage, to one of the key veins that goes into your heart. So that's how they route the wires into your heart, is via a vein in your chest. I called your SVC, and it's not uncommon, but it's common enough that it happens where over time you get a blockage forms, so scar tissue inside your vein forms and narrows that vein, and that's what ultimately happened to me. But it took about 18 months to get recognition that that's what was happening. Before it was all removed, a different type of ICD was fitted, and I've got blog posts with images on the different types of defibrillator, because my current one's not wired into my heart now. But then, just to make things even more interesting, one of the drugs I was put on caused something called AV block. So it caused the synchronization between my top and lower chambers to not occur. So the signal goes from top to bottom. It's an electrical signal, and it would get blocked. So the top would pump and the bottom one wouldn't, because it wouldn't get the signal. And I collapsed. Again, a video that I've got, because I asked, it was Aldi where I collapsed. I was just standing there at checkout. And I got fitted with a pacemaker, but it's a leadless pacemaker because of the complications I had with the blockage. And now it turns out that quite possibly this leadless pacemaker is not pacing me correctly because it's not sensing my heart. And so I'm getting incorrect pacing. And so I'm currently going through complications with more neck problems and chest pain. So yeah, not being lucky, to be honest, but
I think me and Mike probably agree on this, but like every time we've spoken to you, whether that's we or listened to you online, you always seem very upbeat and very positive, and I think there'll be some people that probably would get quite a lot out of that from hearing how positive you are. So like appreciate your positivity, because I think people who are going through something similar would maybe not feel as positive as that. So yeah, appreciate you talking about it. Yeah.
Well, it's having a focus. I think that's what's worked for me, is the fact that knowing that I'm helping lots of people out there. I spoke to a guy the other day in Argentina who was trying to build an automation. I might not have given him the answer that he was looking for, but I get asked by lots of people to help me, help me. And it's very difficult to give that time. But this particular guy, he told me the right story. He said he was new into the Power Platform. And when I sort of looked at his LinkedIn profile, I could see that. And I thought, well, you know what, I'll give this guy a break and help him out. And it's that focus that keeps me going, I guess, is knowing that I'm helping folk, I'm doing something that's useful. And meanwhile, my health is like another project. It's just a long-term project that I'm working through, and I'll eventually, hopefully, get some positive progress. But otherwise, I think you'll just go down a spiral if you lose that focus, and that's not what I want. I want to sort of keep going, keep strong for my kids and everything, and find the answer, hopefully.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, nice. Going back to your kind of YouTube content for a moment, do you have any advice for people who are kind of like starting out on that, and how to get past like kind of because there's a bit of self-awareness in that, isn't there? There's a bit of is it am I doing the right thing? Do I come across okay? Have you got any kind of advice or pointers for people who are just starting out on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was inspired by folk on YouTube when I started. I started watching videos. I don't know if you heard of the guy Kevin Stratford, who is absolutely nailing it. He works for Microsoft. Yeah, exactly. He's got a team of people now on videos, and is putting out content across all different technology areas. And I watched a video of his probably about 2-3 years ago where he was talking about how he got started, and you just want to improve each time, just something minor, just get a little bit better each time. And you will look back at your videos and realize that you maybe weren't as fluent on the microphone, or your microphone wasn't that good, or your webcam wasn't that good, or you didn't have any animations in your video, etc., that sort of thing. And I can do exactly that same reflection now. I look back and watch some of the videos, and even some of my really popular videos now. My most popular video is ironically just populating a Word document from a Microsoft form. But it's me with a headset on, a really dodgy microphone. You can hear me spitting away when I'm talking and umming and ahhing. And it's not very fluent, but everyone loves it because it helps them solve a problem. And if I hadn't have kept going, then I wouldn't be at the point now of having helped folk with so many other different solutions. But at the same time, I've got that little bit better each time, and I still know I'm maybe not reached the level of others, but I try and make an improvement each time I drop a video.
And I think it's important as well, because I've had this conversation with people before. Because when I started out with public speaking, I was very much anxious about what people would think of me when I'm up on stage, or if I write a blog post, what are people going to think about what I've written, and have I written the right thing? Have I accidentally insulted anyone in the blog post? all that sort of stuff. It's just, yeah, I think you get to a point where you kind of you just have to do it, don't you? You have to dive in. You can be anxious about putting a podcast out, for example. You could be anxious about putting a YouTube video out or a blog post, but until you do it, you won't get the feedback, will you? And I think with this sort of stuff, with putting yourself out there, you have to be able to process the feedback in a positive way. So you can get, obviously, I've had some bad feedback before about a session I delivered. It was mostly positive, but there were quite a few negatives. And in hindsight, I hadn't prepared for it as much as I should have. And actually just getting that feedback, it was really heartbreaking at first to get it. But then you have to come out the other end and actually say, okay, so we got this negative feedback. What are we going to do to make sure we don't get that feedback again? Like, what do I need to change? And actually, it becomes self-development, doesn't it? It goes from being anxious about what other people think to actually give me the feedback. I want it. I need that in order to improve. And we've talked about the fear of collaboration before as well here, where you might build something and you're afraid to put it out there. And I did that a lot with music production and coding and whatnot. And actually, like, it's the best thing to actually make it better.
No, I'm. You can't see it obviously because it's a podcast, but I'm smiling because I'm nodding because I mean feedback is I think what you're looking for. You always want feedback, whether that's positive, but ideally negative or constructive, because if you are trying to improve week by week, you are looking for that little snippet, that little idea that's going to make you better. And I've actually found that quite difficult to get that constructive feedback. I quite often ask in places. I've got a Microsoft form, actually. It's one of the first things I did. Again, back to Kevin. He said, make it easy for people to provide feedback. And I've got a feedback form on my YouTube. But generally, it's been positive. There's been some comment about microphones and stuff like that, and there's nothing I can do about it. But I think if you have that mindset, the mentality of growth, which is what Microsoft really instill in you, is having that growth mindset, then you want to improve, and you just take criticism on the chin because you want to try and get better, and don't feel bad about it. Take it as a positive.
And I find that comment about the quality of your microphone, etc. It's a really difficult one, isn't it? Because if you're just starting out, you're not going to go out and buy £1,000 microphone or like a £1,000 camera to make sure you look as crisp as possible, because that's a massive investment for something you don't know if you're going to get into, right? And me and you have talked before about microphones, and I started off, I'm tapping it now, headset, sounded awful. First 2 episodes of this podcast were through this headset, and then I was able to make a very small investment in a slightly, maybe slightly better microphone. I don't know how much better it is to what I had before, but just like it's not constructive when somebody's just started out, right? To say, actually, you need to like invest X amount into your camera and your post production and your animations, and it's like, well, I'm just finding my feet.
And it's the way you deliver that feedback, right?
Yeah.
And like me and Mike have spoken about, well, Mike mainly has spoken about this with me, and we have a very, very honest relationship. And like Mike will give me good feedback and positive or negative feedback, but he knows how to say it. And what's that term, Mike? That you.
So there's a really good book called Radical Candor that talks about how when you give feedback to people, you're just basically open and honest because it's the kindest thing to do. There's another book I read about it. It's called How to Say Anything to Anyone. So you establish a relationship where you can say what you need to say to somebody, and they can say what they need to say to you without having to skirt around or sugarcoat anything.
Yep.
And that you won't. That you basically you take that as positive because it's not negative feedback, it's feedback, and it's a way for you to improve or see where you're going wrong, or developers, whether you're a consultant, whether you're a YouTuber, whether you're doing a podcast,
or a father.
Or a father, yeah.
Well,
So
I was going to say,
well.
That's kind of how I hope things work with Mrs. Damien, and when we're trying to help each other out in wherever we're going in work or in family, etc. We try.
I wasn't very good at that. I wasn't very good at that at home. I was not too bad at it at work, but at home sometimes I would not say what I really wanted to say, and I'm a lot better. I'm a lot better with that now, and that's all to do with this, really. So yeah, work life and home life blending into one.
They do,
Lovely.
yeah. I mean, I've had issues communicating how I feel, or communicating really bad news to my wife previously, but this is that sort of approach has really helped me to just say, well, actually, you just need to address it and just address it now, and be open about it, and then you get to the other end, and actually, if anything blows up or anything like that, it blows up, but it won't be the end of everything. It won't be the end of the world to do that. So yeah,
agreed. Yeah.
Do you think there's a point in time where maybe you could go full time with your video, Damien, or not yet?
Yeah,
it depends who's listening, right?
Yeah, it's funny, that one, isn't it? Yeah, there are folk in the community that I watch, and I think that I wonder if I've got the guts to do. I mean, jumping from public sector to private sector was a big thing for me. My dad was he worked in the council for his whole life and did well, got to a senior role in accountancy, but it was all about public sector is a safe place to work. So when he heard that I was wanting to move into private sector and go and work for a Microsoft partner, all of a sudden, it was like, whoa, you think careful about this one. So jumping into private was a big thing. Jumping to Microsoft was a big thing for me. But could I one day go independent, or I don't know. I think the thing for me right now is really my health. If I can get that to a point where I'm happy with everything, then it's a possibility, but it's many years down the line. I think it'd be good to be in my 50s and doing the work that I want to do. Albeit I do have that flexibility at Microsoft. It is a good role in terms of what I'm doing. So who knows? Watch this space. Maybe I'll look back at this or listen back to this in a few years' time and go, I made it. I'm now self-sufficient from my own materials. Who knows?
Yeah, it's interesting what you say, like about making sure everything is stable. That's probably the right word, isn't it? Because you need to have stability to be able to go and do that extra thing, especially if it's on your own. Yeah.
Well, it's kids and family as well, isn't it? I mean, I've got 3 kids that are still at school, and the last thing I want to do is to try and do what I want to do and suddenly not have any income, and that has a big impact on the family. So let's get them all sorted first, and there's still plenty of time for me to do my own thing, I think, later on. Yeah,
fair play. Yeah.
So you do videos. You also mentioned that you do blog whenever you can, and I know how that could feel trying to get a blog post out. What format do you find easier to produce?
Well, quite interestingly, I do enjoy the videos, but there's a lot of effort that goes into a video, because you're obviously building a proof of concept, you're testing that proof of concept, and then you record building the proof of concept because you want to make sure that it works. Because there have been occasions where I built a proof of concept recording and then realised as I get to the very end that I forgot to tick that box, or I typed the expression in wrong and the whole thing fails. So you want to do some practice on it, and then you have all the editing time on a video. So it could take a half day, it could take a day to produce something like that. But the actual proof of concept could take 20 minutes. It's the whole piece, putting it together. I have found I enjoy that over blog posts, but if I do a blog post and think it through, it can actually make putting together a video a lot easier, because you've gone through all the steps, you've pretty much written it out, and then you can pretty much follow back your blog post and record the video. and without
That's
having to worry
interesting.
about things
Yeah.
going wrong. Yeah, but it's just more work to do both, isn't it? And I want to try and keep the cadence on video, the videos going. But it does drive people as well to the videos. If you do a blog post, someone Googles or Bings or Copilots and finds the answer and there's a reference to a blog post, that blog post can then have a link to your video. So it's a good way to sort of signpost people to the material.
Yeah. So we now have a section called Uncomfortable Corner.
I can't wait.
Uncomfortable Corner.
That's my voice and Mike screaming.
Yeah. So, Damien, when was the last time you felt uncomfortable in or out of work? Explain how you felt, how you managed to get through it, and what did you learn?
Oh, uncomfortable corner, eh?
It's very uncomfortable.
It is very uncomfortable. Yeah. I don't know. I enjoy, one of the things I enjoy is challenges. So, I mean, I don't want to go into a situation where I know nothing. But equally, I enjoy going into a situation where I don't necessarily know all the answers and I'm going to have to use my noggin. So I've had instances where, for instance, we've got a delivery that's, a customer's been upset that they've maybe not got on time or they've not got as far as they'd hoped in the past. And I step in and you almost, you have to win that trust of the customer again. And this has happened to me probably when I worked for a Microsoft partner, but also since I worked for Microsoft as well. And I quite enjoy that. I mean, I don't want someone shouting down the phone at me and telling me that they hate me and fix it now. But I like to come in and show folk that, look, we can sort this together, and just work through the problems that might have occurred. And I took on a delivery on Copilot Studio where it was just as some of the functionality in preview was being delivered. And so the functionality, the original delivery was for like middle of November. And when I'd asked the product team, when's this piece of functionality coming? Well, it's not actually coming till the 5th of December. I thought, well, I can't do that delivery in November, can I? Because I've not even been able to fire it up myself. And so I managed to get hold of it for the 5th of December and deliver on the 5th of December, but had been given access a few days before to actually go and try it out. There's no documentation. You are literally working it out on the fly. And I quite enjoyed that sort of
kind of like a hackathon, really.
Yeah.
In a way.
Let's try something different.
You're on both sides. You're using the tech for the first time and also being able to convey it in a way that someone else can understand. Yeah. So
the reason why I'm smiling and nodding is because that happened to me about an hour and a half ago. So.
Yeah, I've done that before. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I think that's my little weakness is I can be very, very honest. So I can, if someone asks me, "Oh, have you done this before?" I'll say, "No, I haven't done that before." Whereas maybe I could say, "Yeah, I've seen that before," but I don't know. I prefer the brutal, honest approach. Really, well, I think it's best. In my view, it's better. I don't know. It's not lying. I don't mean it's not lying, is it?
No, not at all. But what you can do, John, is say, "I've not done that before, but I'm happy to take a look."
Yeah.
And I'll quite happily say, if I'm in the middle of a session with a customer and they say, "Oh, have you got any experience with X, Y, and Z?" I'll quite happily say, "No, I'll need to go away and find the answer to that." But maybe this was a slightly different scenario in that it was like a 5-day delivery on something that was just arriving, and it was my role to understand it and portray it to the customer. And I quite like, well, I like a bit of pressure. I felt like I knew the product enough to be able to work this out. But if someone said, "Tell me, what do you know about business process flows in model-driven apps?" I go, "Well, just give me a bit of time. I'll have a look into it and I'll get back to you," because it's not my expertise by any means.
So, I think, is that all we got time for?
I think we are, just about, yeah.
So, Damien, we'll just do the outro now and then
cool.
And then we'll finish up. You can find Damien... Oh, sorry. Let me start again. Silence. Damien, thank you very much for being on the show today, and thank you for your time. You can find Damien Bird on LinkedIn, his YouTube channel, X, and his blog, links to which will be in the show notes. Links to other resources in this episode will also be in the show notes. Music today was provided by Ken Like Fit. You can find his music on Spotify, the link to which you can find in the episode show notes. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss the next episode. We would also really appreciate it if you gave us a follow on LinkedIn, and if you're enjoying the podcast, please give us a review on your chosen podcast platform. Thank you. This has been Sprint Zero, and I've been Mike Gowland. John, you screwed that up.
Oh, yeah, is that supposed to be me? Oh. Yeah, let's do that bit again.
Alright. This has been Sprint Zero, and we've been John Russell. Say goodbye, John.
Bye, Mike.
Damien Bird. Say goodbye, Damien.
Goodbye, Damien.
And I'm Mike Gowland. See you in the next episode. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Damien's YouTube channel.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
See you 10K.
10,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get this out quick.
See you later, John. Love you.
Love you too. See ya.
Bye. Bye, Damien.
Love you too, guys.
Warning. The following scenes may contain references to power pages and portals which some listeners may find disturbing. Especially if you've struggled with poor training in the past. Hey all, Franco Musso here again. Quick update on that hostage situation. Hopefully the smell isn't coming across the airwaves. I haven't let the guys use the bathroom yet, so the joke's definitely on me. Anyway, big announcement. I'm finally releasing my online Power Pages course. This has been 5 years in the making. It's tried and tested on citizen devs and portal makers all around the world. It's the course I wish existed when I was getting started. It's practical, it's hands-on, and it's project-based, so you're not wondering how the heck this would apply to the real world. I've built in battle-tested lessons I've learned from tens of successful portal projects across various industries, budgets, and geographies, and I've formulated the most efficient route from zero to heroic launch. The tools and techniques I've chosen to show you are all based on what adds the most value to you, the learner, and to your customers, all in the most compressed timeline possible. Think 80-20, focusing on the techniques that punch above their weight and deliver the majority of results. You'll get video lessons, a repeatable framework, and some super helpful worksheets. Visit francomusso.com/power-pages-course and register your interest. Disclaimer, this course isn't for you if you prefer hours of slides, theory, and little to no action. You can now take your fingers out of your ears and enjoy the awesome that is Sprint Zero.